Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners, and today also my viewers. So today I'm trying a completely new format for my podcast for the first time. I'm gonna record it as a video and an audio simultaneously, so you can listen to it if you want to or view it. Now, today I have a special guest, a most beloved friend and also student of mine, Danièle Joecker. Danièle is a holistic counselor and a certified professional numerologist working with systemic constellations. Of course, we're gonna say more about Danièle, and I'm gonna leave the links to her services and so on in the episode description so you can know everything about her. But the important thing is that this new format is all about having professional guests come and meet and talk about intimate things that speak to all of us, and explore those topics through the numbers. But not just any numbers, the actual chart of the guest, today of Danièle. So I really appreciate you, Danièle, for allowing me to look at your numbers and being so open with the viewers. It's really, really exciting, actually, for me.
Yes.
So today we're exploring the topic of relationships, more specifically complicated relationships or complications in relationships, conflicts in relationships, messiness in relationships. And we're going to explore through the numbers and through Danièle sharing some of her experiences. Now, before I keep going any further, I want to welcome you if you are new to this podcast. This podcast is dedicated to in-depth numerology, and but not just in-depth numerology that can be applicable for your everyday life matters. Numerology that is transformational, that allows you to expand your consciousness and transform yourself and know yourself on ever deeper levels, and then use it to make your life better, aligned with your true purpose. Now, should you want to go deeper into numerology, there are two main ways I always offer. One is check out my numerology readings. A numerology reading is an incredible way to get to know yourself from the inside out, the light, the shadow, the in-between, questions that are burning for you, okay? You can ask everything. To know more about the readings, to book one, check out the link provided in the episode description. Now, if you want to study numerology, there are two pathways I offer. One is the self-study course pathway, which is, again, very comprehensive, but also allows you to study numerology at your own pace. I currently offer two online self-study courses. And you can study them on your laptop, your mobile device, and your tablet. Secondly, if you want to go much deeper than that and be initiated into the real depth of numerology, just like Danièle did herself, then you can check out the in-depth numerology study program, where you study directly with me, one-on-one, from a complete beginner to a complete expert, depending on how far you want to go. Check out both study paths. The links are provided in the episode description. And now we're ready to dive in to our topic. So, Danièle, in preparation to today's episode, you told me something very beautiful about, first of all, I'll just say, Danièle has a life path 11-2.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! We threw the first bomb into this conversation. I'm going to have her chart right here in front of me on my tablet.
Mm-hmm.
You told me something about, being seen, heard, something along these lines, but I want you to tell our listeners and viewers what it was all about.
Yeah, I think boom is really one of the right descriptions for it. So what came to me is that when I had my very first numerology reading with you, actually here in the room
In Berlin, the
next
other
to here
room,
in Berlin,
yes.
next to here, because what we didn't say is that Tom and I, we are neighbors. I live just down the road.
Right.
And so what you told me in this very first reading, which was also for me the uncovering and revelation of my core number, and which is, as we said, the 11-2, was that you made me aware that relationships were going to be a main topic in my life. And then I didn't know too much about, master numbers, the 11-2, which I think adds just another layer to the whole, call it, challenge.
Right.
And what had happened in my life is that I had always had this longing and for deep, intimate relationships, and this is a part of myself that was only met very late in my life, and maybe also increased through the fact that I was beginning to understand myself better. Yeah, I was always longing for not only deep and intimate relationships, but also for authenticity, for truth, which is the 11 of the 11-2.
Very fitting, yes.
Yeah, of the master number. And and after this first reading, where I will always remember like being seen through my numbers, my tears started to roll down my cheeks, and it was such a big relief to understand where this struggle I had during all the years came from, and that there was nothing wrong with me, but
Right.
it was just my path, my life path, yeah. And that my life path was something to be learned, to be developed, to be digged in, to be what else, to be really that was something I needed to grow into.
Yeah, and if I
And
may chime in,
yeah.
it's super. I think it's just beautiful to mention this point that you see someone with a life path number 2 or 11-2, and whoever has a master number has both numbers. Sort of wrestling with a particular topic of intimacy and relationships, and that's the whole point. Like, the life path is not a ready-made product, and I think that's what's so important for all of us to understand here, that you're coming into this life with like a 2 or an 11-2 life path, and you're expecting it to be, hey, but like, I'm supposed to be really successful in relationships. But actually, our life path is a work in progress. That's your main lesson. Naturally, you're going to explore relationships in many ways and from many angles. So it's very natural to have like this sort of sense of dissatisfaction as well, that you have to go through until you find something else. But we'll explore it deeper. So you were in the middle of something.
So what happened is that I was always looking for a partner that would meet me in this spiritual longing I also had, and at the same time, I used to love really, really deep conversations about everything. And I found that my choices were reduced, because most of the people of my age like were not interested in the topics that were interested, where I was interested in, and that of course created also a conflict. And then what happened is that I went into compromises. So, and when you go into compromises, you're not living your truth anymore. So that was, I think, one of my main conflicts. And of course, and when you're making compromises, what is programmed more or less is a separation. It doesn't work out. Because the very base of relationships is this mutual trust and this of course at least how I perceive it, this mutual trust and this ability to be really authentic and to show yourself as you are in your deepest corners. And yeah.
Beautifully said. And I'm gonna like roll with it and ask a question. So your chart specifically, now I'm really looking at Danielle's numbers. And by the way, our listeners are here. Our viewers are here. I'm just pointing to the camera because, again, this is the first time sort of experiment, my friends. So forgive us if we're a little bit choppy here. It's fun and homey. So Danielle, you have like an 11-2 life path, but you also have a birthday number 1. And you have an expression number 8. I'm not referring to other numbers. They have their own thing. Maybe later I'm going to say a few words about them. But like the 8 and the 1, what do we know about the 8 and the 1?
Yeah, well, they're in comparison to the 2, they're masculine numbers starting with, which is completely different.
Like a completely different, right? Like a different vibe, a different...
completely different energy, and they are everything else but sensitive and gentle and sweet. There is this really straightforwardness and of the 1, and then the drive of the 8 that wants to also be in action all the time and manifest and climb the ladders and manage and take control and then the 1 that rings for individuality and for being unconventional and this pioneering. So I always had very new ideas and the masculine force. There was me.
But I want to ask you actually something.
Yes.
I'm going to chime in again. Sorry, like this is going to be I think this format is going to be me chiming in many times because like I'm catching my partners for conversation in interesting moments. You're saying that like the 1 and the 8, rightfully so, like are very sort of intense, masculine, more controlling. You mentioned a few words, or driven. Do you feel that the relationship between the 2, or the 11-2, and the 1 and the 8 in your chart, let's say, contributed to some conflict that you can maybe share with our listeners and viewers in a serious relationship? Like, can you give an example, or can you share something that you could actually see?
Yeah, of course. The main topic was always that like this sweet and sensitive core of the 2 was always more or less suffocated by the 1 and the 8. So leading to the fact that what people would perceive from myself in the outside or potential partners was the strong 8 and the 1, and not the sensitive core.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like this is something you displayed more, like, because it makes sense, like, because the 2 is sort of like, it's very intimate to you, but then again, like, it's a little bit almost like a shield or a display window or a facade, or like something, right? So you said that was a little bit more the front, like the 1 and the 8 somehow, to an extent at least.
Yes, yes, definitely. I think it was twofold, because not myself also not knowing this or not being able for a long time to recognize this sensitive core, I also identified more with all the masculine sides, and which also in society you get more recognition for
Of course.
all this masculine side. So it was also a learning for myself to be able to show myself also in my what's the word for it?
Vulnerability.
Exactly.
I heard you.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a thing that so many of us like share.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. So obviously projecting this to the outside, I would attract men who or partners who would rely on me and would like give me gratification for this strong part of myself, and as opposed to and then this sweet and tender part of myself was, of course, and the part me longing for so much intimacy, for truth, and for spiritual growth, was never met in a relationship.
Wow. That's a powerful statement. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Cool in the sense it's really interesting to know and see like the dance between the numbers and how like what we're seeing actually here is like how there's an 11-2, which is also a 2, and the 11, the need for truthfulness and like a deep, meaningful relationship at the core is overshadowed by conflicting numbers like the 8 and the 1 with that 2. So again, coming back to number combinations, as you know, I'm talking about this all the time, right? How important it is to understand the relationship between the numbers. So Danièle is literally describing how, an 8 and a 1, interact with the 2, and Danièle, you've described like how it creates like an inner dynamic inside of you, but that inner dynamic literally manifests as an outer relationship. And I think that's such an important point for our listeners and viewers, like to understand, right? Your numbers describe your interior life, and your interior life becomes your exterior life, and that's
exactly
right. So meaningful.
Yeah.
I want to touch upon, because our time is a little limited, and I want to still like look at some more of your numbers, and it's just fascinating because if I look at your numbers, and if I may, what's so interesting to me is that there's this sort of very, very gentle 2 at the center. It's partly gentle because, well, as an 11, it's also very powerful. But let's say for a moment there, let's look at it as a 2. And then I see like a soul urge 3. I see an expression 8. I see a personality 5. And I see a birthday 1. Now, for me as a numerologist, I'm sure for you as well, but I'll give it my take. Like the numbers that are sort of like interacting with your life path are much more freestylers in a sense, or I would say not the most emotional, like, or emotion seeking numbers. There's much more like movement, creativity, freedom, or youthful, childlike, whatever. Even the 1, like, you know what I mean? Like the birthday 1 it's very individualistic. Like all of them in a way are more individualistic compared to the 2. So it's like, it seems that also inside of you, like it's not just the masculine. That's maybe one topic we spoke of, like in relation to the 2, but then we also see like all this individual nature, like many of them, like if you look at 1, 3, and 5, 8 maybe is in between, but like they're not like the most committed in a way, they like their own freedom. You know what I mean? And then there's the 2.
Yes.
I wonder if like you felt like that created also a bit of a suffocation. Again, like a sense of in relationships. And again, I don't know. I'm literally like shooting in the dark here. I'm like a feeling of like wanting, but also like going against it, consciously, unconsciously. What do you think in your experience?
Not that I am aware of that. I always felt that I was really seeking and not really finding what I was looking for. But from my side, once I was in a relationship, I felt very dedicated and to it. But of course, in my whole being, I always felt very free, like the 5, and also I had this extremely creative aspect, needing, which is for me all the different to like this 4 energy of a routine. I could never really get by with routines. I needed a lot of change and a lot of new excitement around and new topics, and not in the sense that I was looking for different partners, but I needed to have the feeling that we're still being able to develop together and to find new centers of interest, and to move also together.
But what I'm curious, and you're welcome to come a bit more into the frame so that our viewers can actually see you.
Yes.
So, I'm asking myself, like, we are looking at conflict today. We are looking, this episode is really dedicated, many of us, deal with conflicts in relationships. And I want our viewers to have some takeaways. We're not at the end yet, but like, I want our viewers to have some takeaways from the numbers. Like, for example, we see 2 and 8, okay? And some people are going to look at their chart and they're not going to know why there's conflict, but then there can be logic, through the numbers. Like, for example, you see 2, you see the wish for intimacy, but then you see 8. In your case, for example, expression number, and sometimes, like, for example, expression number that goes into expression, literally, as the word suggests, like you come out a little bit more harsh sometimes in communication, or it can be a bit more aggressive, or let's say a bit blunt or abrupt sometimes. Like, I want to say something, maybe I go a bit overboard. Again, I'm not saying that's been, but this is interesting because I think that these relationships between the numbers can show us and it can explain to us why it's not always streamlined and why there are conflicts. Or, for example, 2 and the 1. This is, again, like, I know Danièle, right? So I know that you got divorced, for example, in your life. It's interesting, right? It's interesting because, not because if I would see a 2 and a 1 in your chart, I would know that you got divorced. There are many people with 2 and 1s that did not get divorced. There are also many people with 2 and 1 that did get divorced. It's just, we want to know the potentials. So if I'm sort of coming back to this, can you, like, what do you feel? And of course, I'm sort of really trying to narrow it down because we cannot get to the full complexity of it. But what do you feel eventually made it too difficult, right? That you had to sort of eventually let it go? Because eventually I think it has to do with our chart on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what happened is, well, there was this, what I have been able to observe in all my relationships also is that I have a tendency to not expressing my truths at the time where it is necessary. So I keep, observing and not expressing what my needs are, not expressing maybe something where I think this might hurt or the other person, or not being able to find the right words to communicate feedback. And then, keeping it inside, maybe for years.
Yeah.
And then at some stage, it's so full, the baggage.
The cup runneth over.
Yes. And then it comes to an explosion. And
then the 8 explodes, and then the 1 explodes, and 5.
Yes. And then it's actually too late. So my exercise has been, part of my exercise during the years has been to really learn to recognize my needs, and to be able to set healthy boundaries, and and to learn to communicate in another way, and in that way also respect my boundaries and respect my needs, and then so that it doesn't come to those kind of explosions anymore, that then then harm the relationships and lead to at the end to separations.
Makes a lot of sense. And so before I keep asking Danièle maybe a couple more juicy questions, if you're enjoying this podcast and you want to keep supporting this work and learn more about in-depth numerology, then I want to ask you to make sure to click the subscribe button or the follow button wherever you're listening from. Make sure to like this video and this episode. Make sure to click the notifications bell to keep supporting this whole work, and also just to be part of this numerology community. Also, make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write, posts and articles that combine Dharma and numerology. Lastly, make sure to check out the comment section. Be part of the conversation. Ask me questions about these episodes. I love answering you guys. I always make, my best attempt to answer all of you. And to find my Substack, the link is in the episode description. Let's go back. So I'm looking at your chart, and I, in the limited time that we still have, I want to maybe get a little bit more personal. Again, to the extent that you feel comfortable. This is all, by the way, my friends, this is all spontaneous. Nothing here is pre-recorded, no notes except having Danielle's chart here. It's all completely spontaneous. I love doing that. To me, that's the way I approach numerology. I don't like to have ready-made preparations. It's alive. Numerology represents living energies. So you see what you feel comfortable sharing. So to me, as a numerologist, and to you as a numerologist as well, like I know when I see, let's say, 2 and 5 in a chart. In your case, it doesn't really govern so much the relationship area, but it's still there. And 2 and 5, for example, have a tendency to sometimes be a little bit more, how should I say it? Like, I like to say that they tend to confuse messiness with love or intimacy. Like, if it's a little messy or confused or troublesome, that's the real deal, so to speak. I wonder, again, I'm asking a question. Do you feel that played a role in your life at one point or another?
I think when I was younger, in my younger age, I was always looking for something that was going to be not conventional in that
very 2-5-ish.
In that area. And this, of course, sometimes brought me into situations where I wish I had not gone there in the end, like people who were not reliable at the end of the day, and who were much older than I was, and where it was when you were looking at it from a rational eye, you knew that there wasn't going to be a future for this relationship. This is what I can say to it. Always playing a little bit with the fire.
That's again, that's beautiful. So to me, that's very 2-5-ish. Yes. Like it's the juicy side of the 2-5. By the way, I made an entire episode about the 2-5. You can listen to it. This is the juicy side of the 2-5. Like, it wants to explore, it wants to experiment a little bit, it wants to touch like those unexplored territories a little bit. There's something very juicy about the 2-5, but it can also confuse messiness with the real deal. Like,
yes, and maybe also this tendency of falling in love with people that were not reachable for me. This can be also a play out of the 2 and the 5.
That's true.
I think
that's true. I agree. I totally agree. It's like something that is like falling in love with something that's like, to begin with, is not like, if you're honest, like, it's not gonna happen. Like, it's not really available. It's not really
available.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and
then that's interesting. And another thing I want to ask is, again, I'm coming back to like the the 2 and the 8, but to another aspect of the 2-8 before we're speaking about the feminine and the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like an aspect when 2 and 8 are sort of like intertwined. Sometimes they get a little bit like, here I'm gonna, so with 2 and 5 I said like, messiness, and the confusion is messiness and the real deal, like the real love. And with 2 and 8 I think sometimes the confusion can be pain and love, can be a little bit intertwined. Like somebody, for example, I've seen people in my life with a 2 and 8 in their chart, like in their core numbers, they say, like, for example, their partner can curse them or say really belittle them, say really bad things to them, put them down. And when you talk to them and you ask them, hey, like, why aren't you like confronting them? And they say, no, that's their way to express their love. They're just angry at me. It's fine. It's only because they really want this and that. And I'm like, huh? Like cursing you, putting you down, calling you like really dirty names and stuff like that, that's loving? And doesn't seem like it to me. So to me, like 2 and 8 can sometimes get into these places. Have you experienced that? If you're comfortable sharing, again, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, what came to me when you were talking about it is really one experience where the person wasn't talking to me directly, like in, would you say belittling?
Belittling ways, yeah, deprecating ways.
Yeah, but still it was indirectly, it was hurting, because it was a partner who was openly talking about all the other relationships, yeah, this was not a very an experience that I would like to have again. And in the end, I found it really not being sensitive about a part of myself. Not that I wasn't aware that he had other relationships, but it was just so obvious that there was something going on there that was not not balanced in the sense of being a relationship on eye to eye level.
You mean, when you say other relationships, you mean like he was talking about like previous relationships? And constantly like mentioning it, not respecting the fact that it might like evoke emotional responses in you, or like respect the boundaries. Like, maybe I don't want to hear about like all your love affairs from before. Exactly. And like sort of like not seeing you again. We're coming back to the 2. Yeah. The need to be seen, or the need to be like, hey, just be like read the situation, be sensitive. Yes. You not listening, yes. You not seeing your own boundaries there.
Yes.
They not seeing your boundaries there, because that's in a way the path you need to traverse to learn how to find those boundaries, right?
Yes.
So that's sort of what you mean.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating. And again, you're in the middle of something. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about. I was just, it was just very being very insensitive to, I was standing next to it. Not that I did not want to talk with that person about past relationships, not at all. But what is the point to talk about all those other relationships to strangers, or when the new partner is next to it,
is present? Yeah.
So
which I must say, like, and excuse me if I'm sort of chiming in again, but like that's also a form of like a little bit abusive behavior. Exactly. I'm using the word abuse carefully here, but like, because we know the 2-8, for those of you who will learn deeper with me, or maybe in my number combinations course, you learn the 2-8 can go to places there, and like the abusive side. Like, why would you, in a situation where like you're presenting your new partner, like, why would you do that? Some part of you knows that you're like poking into them, like you're hurting them, but you keep doing it. And of course, again, we're not blaming here anyone. This is a path of learning that Danielle's soul chose, like the 2 and the 8. So, right, in a way, you yourself, like all of us, like you had to discover where do I draw the line? right?
Yes, it comes back to, becoming aware of oneself and of learning to set boundaries.
Yeah.
I think this is a very important learning
Learning curve.
for the 2 and 8,
Absolutely.
for 2 and 8 and the 2 and 1 combination. And it is still part of my life. I'm still learning there to really also become aware of my real needs and being able to back them up myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think this is a huge one for like number 2, what you just said. Like to know one's needs and to be able to back them up with all your other numbers that are so extroverted, like the 3, the 8, and the 5, still like the 2 being so central. There always comes this element of shyness. Like
Yes,
until I do the action that I know I should do, be it external or internal. And I think because our topic is relationships and like the conflicts, like how do I set this straight in the relationship? Like maybe I need to learn to talk about this earlier. Maybe I need to like be more clear, which is of course hard for the 2. In your case, an 11, meaning maybe I need to activate the 11 side of me, like the truthfulness, like the side that says no, and says like, this is not true. Like, I'm not accepting this. So again, the sort of learning curve of the number 2. One thing that also strikes me in your chart, and again, we'll see if we want to unpack this or open this a little bit, but just for the sake of the viewers, because I think it's interesting to explore this topic from different perspectives. I'm looking at Danielle's period cycles. And to me, what's so interesting is that when I look at the person's chart and I want to know who they are and like really what defines their deepest character, I don't only look at the core numbers, but sometimes I would look at the first cycle, pinnacle, and challenge, because this is called the forming period. And the forming period is so, key to understanding who we are as well, because we have been formed literally from age 0 up to like 30 plus, in that atmosphere. It influences who we are, what we see in the cycle and the pinnacle and the challenge. Especially I want to focus on the cycle and the pinnacle. And by the way, if you're not familiar with any of the terms like cycle and pinnacle or period cycles, there are plenty of episodes. I think there's a dedicated episode where I specifically talk about that. So just go ahead and check it out. But in your first cycle and pinnacle, you have a 4 cycle, a 5 pinnacle. Now, what is that in terms of harmony? Is that harmonious, disharmonious? What do you say?
It's very, very disharmonious.
It's disharmonious.
Very disharmonious.
A professional numerology telling you that. So I just want to ask, do you feel that played a role in shaping your understanding of relationships? Or somehow?
That's an interesting question. I guess I would say this is kind of the conflict I grew up in, between my mom being rather reliable and what is the English word for angepasst?
No, I don't know. This is German here.
No, I'm actually
consistent.
French, but consistent. Like, being just square-minded, things square-minded.
Okay.
Reliable, and my father, who was always a very, very free spirit and rather improvising. And
so like your mom was literally the 4 and your father was the 5. I can see her. Like if we had to assign them to one of the numbers. Okay.
Yeah, and of course, being like that, there was a lot of conflict and a lot of
between your parents,
between my parents,
okay.
And also due to them being partly overwhelmed with at some stage, when I was 10, I had 3 other siblings. and there was a lot of overwhelm in their lives, and relatively young when I was born. Yeah, and to be honest, in my young ages, I always thought that discussions and conflict and
Arguments.
arguing and shouting at each other was part of the normal way,
No way.
which
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
which is actually not.
And I want to say, so here's, I want to say for the sake of our listeners, right? We see like a person's conditioning coming from the first period in their life, the cycle and the pinnacle, the 4 and the 5, 4 and 5. In a way, their topic is a sort of a battle. There's a battle. It creates a battle. And you really see here, and Danièle is sharing very kindly that like she saw a lot of battle at home. And it sort of became the normal. Like that's my norm. That's how it happens, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And like naturally influences. So there's this aggressive or violent atmosphere that you sort of you take on, and you think it's normal, and you grow into that. And the reason I'm saying this is because we see here multiple factors in the chart contribute to, eventually you ending up something also in divorce. I'm simplifying it, of course. You know what I mean? But eventually, I know you're not prioritizing like romantic relationships like right now. It's not like the main thing in your life. You know what I mean? And fair enough. I think I respect it 100%. Because we're reaching like the end of today's episode, I want to actually start to wrap it up. And by wrapping it up, I mean, so we spoke about some of the conflicts. We spoke about like the 8 and the 2 and the 1 and the 2, and then all this more individualistic numbers like the 3, the 5, the 8 in comparison to the 2. We spoke about like the cycle and the pinnacle. But I also want to say, like, where do we see a solution? Like, and again, I'm leaving it as an open question, right? Because this is a creative space. Numerology is creative space. It's not like some kind of dead formula that you can just repeat forever. You're a numerologist. I'm a numerologist. When we look at your numbers, what would you think? How could we you look at these numbers and use them actually to create a better relationship?
Yeah, well, I think it's a question of maturity, and I remember now what you told me also in that very, very first reading. You told me that speaking truth would be one of the key factors for myself. And now with all my experience, and I would say that for me, for example, and maybe also for our listeners, what is very important
and viewers
is to understand that to not wait too long to speak up, and to express whatever needs to be expressed, and to maybe look for means of being able to express whatever has to be expressed in a way that can be received by the partner.
And if I want you, what you said now is powerful. Which number would you tie what you said to? Which number would you connect it? Because it has to be connected to. I want it to connect it to the numbers.
Yeah, well, of course, the 2 needs to say the truth, to speak the truth.
Pardon me. It means we're speaking the truth. You know, when one sneezes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bless you.
Thank you.
And
so the 11-2. The 11-2.
And the 3 and the 11-2.
As an expression.
The 11-2. Yes, and then the expression. And then,
which is the 3, is just expressing whatever is there.
Expressing whatever is there.
And the 11 is the truth.
Being straightforward,
Okay.
Not waiting too long.
Yeah.
So we've got them all. And then, we can use the energy of the 5 to become creative. Also,
communicative.
The 3 and the 5 communicating and becoming creative. And speaking the language of the other, learning to speak the language of the other in that case. Yeah. To be received. Again, being received is a two issue. Yeah. And
beautiful. No, it's powerful what you're saying,
Yeah.
and also the eight. I would like to say, like, to use the eight in a way of, for example, creating practical steps, pragmatic steps. For example,
Yes.
because like we said that you're you in a way you're coaching people. For example, you're and I think the eight is very talented in doing that. And I even would say that 2 and 8 are very talented in doing that as a combo. And I think 8 is very good in strategizing steps.
Yes.
So on the negative, it creates a mess in clash with the 2, but in the positive, like the 8 can be used to do exactly that, like to pave a very concrete path towards a better future. Like literally to lead oneself, to guide oneself into like a better future, right?
Yeah, and with very much endurance.
Yes, which is needed, especially like in long-term relationships. I mean, come on, we all know that long-term relationships are not like an easy ride. It's not like, a bed of roses. It requires effort.
Yes.
Consistent effort.
Yes.
Awesome. Fantastic. Any last words? Anything that comes to mind?
Yes, what comes to mind is that I've really learned a lot with you and through numerology. And for me, numerology and knowing myself through numerology has been a revelation. And today I'm using it to also help people to find or to step into their own vocation, as I did myself. And this is my wish for everyone, to get to know yourself and to be able to realize yourself in this life, and gain freedom.
It's very beautiful. And so you have, of course, your own work, your own business going on. You give online sessions to
I'm
people,
working
right?
mainly online. Yes. Yes. And
so you use you said you're using like the systemic, I forget the other words, forgive me, like, as I'm not used to constellation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You want to say a few words just so our viewers know what you do?
So I work on the one hand with classical numerology, like giving readings to people, and then I have learned systemic constellations, which you can do either in person, and which is more known doing it in person with working with groups. But I have learned to do it online, and I have worked for more than 30 years in a big company, and I'm sort of combining all those 3 methods into a program to help people step into their vocation. So I'm doing a profile within complete numerology profile, and searching for really jobs and careers that really match their numbers. And then if we find blocks or barriers in their lives, we can remove them with the help of those systemic constellations. And then I'm helping with the 8 energy to really have concrete steps into implementing maybe this in reality, to be able to find a new job in this in the field that has been revealed by the numerology profiling.
Beautiful. Sounds multi-layered, sounds complete, sounds like you're offering a beautiful package. So I want to say, first of all, thank you. I will be leaving the link to Danielle's website in the podcast episode description, so make sure to check her out. Lovely, lovely person, intelligent and very kind, and knows what she's doing. I want to thank you for agreeing to speak so openly about yourself and share things from your own life with our listeners, with our viewers. And I hope that, that you all can benefit from this. Again, this is the first episode. They're a bit longer than the ones that I usually record because they're conversations, they're 2 people. And they are completely spontaneous to make them more alive, so that also the insights that I share or Danielle shared are just coming from the moment, from our actually lived knowledge of the numbers. So I want to thank you also for what you brought into this, and for being willing to put yourself out there. I think that makes, to me, it makes a professional much more reliable. Like, to me, if I know a person is willing to put themselves out there, I say, okay, that's like a real person. Like, they're not pretending to be someone above, the normal folk, and then pretend to be giving a service. To me, I always speak openly about my anxieties and mental health issues and stuff like that, because as a 9/7 that I am, and 7/9/2 in all my chart, yeah, it makes sense. And that, I think, makes me more credible. That's the word I was looking for, right? So thank you. And
thank you so much too, Tom. It was really, really a big honor to be your guest, and I enjoyed it very much. And I think it's all about authenticity, isn't it?
It is. I'm 100% on that with you. And so, my friends, just to wrap this up, if you've enjoyed this podcast and you want to support this work and also keep learning more in-depth numerology, make sure to subscribe, follow on the, whatever platform you're listening from. Make sure to give a like, click the notifications bell, become part of this numerology community. Furthermore, remember to check out my Substack, blog, newsletter, many interesting, posts about Dharma and numerology. Again, link in the episode description. Remember, check out numerology readings if you want to really explore yourself on a much deeper level than we actually spoke of, today. And then again, comment, ask questions, become part of the conversation. And the last thing I want to remind you is, if you want to study numerology, remember that there are two study paths: the online self-study courses and the in-depth numerology studies with me. All the links to everything I mentioned is in the episode description. My friends, my listeners, and today also viewers, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope that you benefit from it. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. So take care.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.